Good morning and welcome to the Celebration Space with yours truly, Kaylee Phelps. And today we are talking about virtual conference do's and don'ts, which I'm excited to talk about just because, I love talking about all things events, virtual and in person, but especially right now as we have seen some of the best and the worst moments of virtual events happening live before us and lots of us joining in on it and experiencing it live. I've been doing a lot of research in terms of my own personal experience. I've been taking notes for the different events and conferences that I've been to virtually, along with the different ones that I've run throughout the years and what has been successful and what hasn't. And then I've also been doing, like I said, a bunch of research just from other people and their feedback. So I'm just going to dive right in and start with something that I say in just about every video about events, is that first things first, you have to know your audience and your goals. So a lot of times conferences the goal can be educational, the goal can be continuing education and maybe getting a certification, the goal can be bringing together community, the goal can be connecting your audience with different vendors and bridging those gaps. It's going to look different for every different event. It could be fundraising, it could be any of these things. But the number one thing that I would say you should do is not try to make it a full day of programming. So if you are used to a typical 8-hour day conference, please do not try to replicate that with people being at home. That is entirely unfair to everyone involved because it does not have built-in breaks. So that is just something that I want to start out with, is that shorter is sweeter, and that is not only in the length of your conference but also based on the talks within your conference. So I recommend sticking to the 20-minute TED Talk rule if you are typically going to have multiple general sessions with all of your audience in one place and you are going to have announcements sprinkled in, whether they are about your product or about the direction your business is going or any of that. Try to pepper those in different ways and not make it one large 1-hour block where maybe you had some theatrics planned or different things going on in the background, or someone's being served a meal, or there's time for networking and speaking in between when the general session speaker is speaking. So that is my number one rule. And also having a variety of voices. I think that this is something that we see at a number of conferences in person and virtually, is that you end up seeing the same people. So that is totally fine. Some people are very gifted, especially if you have an MC. I think having a through line and someone to guide your audience along the way is really important. But if you end up hearing the same person talking all day and it feels like you're just watching 8 hours of TV and it's just a one-sided conversation, that is not something that's going to keep your community engaged, nor is it going to make them feel like it was worth their time or potentially their money. So that's what I wanted to start with. I also wanted to say, along that same line of having difference in voices, is having a huge interaction component. So a couple of the conferences I've been to, like I said, it felt like just kind of like watching TV for 8 hours, and we were encouraged to interact on social media or do different things like that, but there was no opportunity for chat box. There was no opportunity to show my face or see other people that were in that group. So that was really difficult for me and really isolating, which is something that a lot of people are dealing with virtual conferences. So try to make your talks as live as possible as well. I've seen a number of virtual conferences, which it's great for the speaker to be able to just pre-record their talk and then just send it to the event organizers, and they just put it in a queue where it's going to come on in the time frame that it's supposed to come on. But one of the things that we're actually seeing is that people want human moments. So a live video like this, you're gonna hear me mess up my words of what I'm saying. You're gonna potentially see my sleeping kitten wake up and attack me. We don't know. It's live TV. We don't know what's going to happen. And part of that unpredictability and part of that vulnerability between us brings out that human connection. If something feels overproduced, it's going to feel more fake, and it's going to feel more scripted and like a TV show, sitting there watching 8 hours of TV that you don't really want. So also, I mentioned the chat box. The chat box is your friend. One of the benefits of virtual conferences is that you have, when you're a speaker on stage, I've spoken at multiple conferences, and one of the awful things is when people are eating in front of you, or you can tell people are a little bit shifty, or you're one of the later speakers and people are trying to, they're starting to get restless. One of the things that's really great about virtual conferences is that you can have hundreds or thousands of people talking during your talk and engaging with each other and saying, wow, that quote really resonated with me, or asking a question. And you should have absolutely people dedicated to monitoring that chat box and relaying questions so that it can be more of a conversation rather than just watching something that's overproduced and it feels like TV. So that's something really important. Also, having those smaller breakout groups and interactions and seeing the faces of other attendees. I know that a couple of the conferences I've been to, I never saw anyone, like I knew other people were attending, but I never saw who they were. I never knew who they were. So I could see it on social media if I searched the hashtag for the conference, but it's also something that you're used to networking. That's one of the biggest parts of a conference in person. So having virtual networking interactions and also having breakout sessions where people can see face to face and have someone guiding a part of the day where you can have interaction and see each other and know, oh my gosh, there are other people going to this conference with me, and I want to chat about whether it's general session speaking or whether you have people guide smaller classes and then engage in conversation with the group. That's something where you can also break up some of that monotony of just having one person speaking rather than having more of a collaborative experience. So, sorry, I have my notes over here, by the way, human moment. So, yeah, and along with that, also incorporating different networking games. So one of the things that you can do is more of like a speed dating networking where the system can randomly connect you with someone for 3 minutes and you get to know each other and how you interact in the industry or why you decide to join the conference. You can provide established questions, or you can let people free fly. You can create trivia games, or you can create competitions of sharing and voting on who has the best home office, or who, use their swag in the most creative way if you're sending out swag, or who, added stickers from the event to a photo in a cool way. But basically getting people involved in a networking way where they can still meet people, not just engage with people that they already knew. They can meet people and create lasting relationships from your event rather than just watching TV for 8 hours. So along with that, there's a couple of things that are really important with this is having your audio and your lighting be really powerful and feel like that has a little bit more effort. A lot of people, when they're paying for a virtual conference, are kind of like, okay, what is this paying for? Which is normally part of the technology that you're paying for, but also making sure that your speakers and all of your produced content is going to be monitored and it's going to be well lit and well heard, just because that's going to up the human connection. So I'm not very good at lighting. I need Tyler's help with more of the lighting. He is the lighting guru. But that is something that is really going to help increase your human interaction there. Also, I mentioned physical and digital swag. So having physical swag that you can send to people's homes is really awesome. You can get really cool pictures or really cool competitions, like I mentioned, with people wearing I don't like doing t-shirts as much because then you have to get sizes, but doing something that is one size fits all, like a hat or like, you know, doing different things that, or like a coffee cup, or doing different things that is going to be a little bit easier, but you can have people, you know, get kind of geared up for their day, their virtual conference with the swag that you send them. And also something that is really valuable is providing lunch. So even if you just send people an Uber Eats gift card, or if you send them to, you know, a different gift card that maybe is local, if you know, that's that number one, is knowing your audience of who and where everyone is. But Uber Eats is usually something that can be delivered at any time, or sending a break box, which I think is a really great idea for companies and virtual conferences to do. It's basically sending a mini vending machine to people where it's going to have little snacks and maybe a bottled water or a soda in there. So that's another thing that is going to just kind of amp up your guest experience, your audience experience, and hopefully help keep them engaged throughout the day. Along with that is letting people know if they get replays, if they can rewatch things, and if they can, you know, if they want to attend one breakout session live and they want to see the content from another breakout session that they didn't get to watch, will they have to pay for that content? What will that look like? Will it all be recorded? And with that, I think is all about the preparation. So having emails that are going to go out, especially coordinating with your speakers and making sure that they know that it's really helpful to either have their content recorded or create worksheets or notes that then the guest or the audience can worry about engaging with the conversation rather than furiously taking notes. So letting people know what kind of notes or worksheets that they're going to, or recordings that they're going to receive either before the conference or right after the conference will be really helpful, just to provide a sense of security within that group. Also, having a number of emails prepared, not only to prepare your audience for what's to come, but also having preparation for if the technology fails you. So that's one of the things, is that if technology fails you and you're in person, you can adapt in terms of, you know, getting a handheld mic and not having your slides behind you and just kind of winging it. Whereas if your virtual event connection fails, just making sure that you're still going to record all of that live content, having emails prepared already to send out to people, and having a fail-safe option, and then also sprinkling in, like I mentioned, those human interactions in those breakout sessions where it's still going to keep people engaged and they can actually jump on and see people and have a conversation that continues while you are working out some of the difficulties with the technology. So making sure that you have that plan B already in place before, and also letting your audience know in a human moment, in one of those pre-event emails, hey, if the technology goes down at any point, this is our plan B, and we will send you an email immediately, so please do keep your email open on a tab. Or if you have a Slack channel going that all of your attendees are in, or if all of them are on Twitter, or whatever piece of technology you're using for that live interaction feedback loop, making sure that you're able to do that. Or if the chat still works, just the video and audio don't. Whatever is going to best fit with your technology needs and then also with your audience needs. All right. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is a couple of things. You have to watch the data. So with virtual events, it's something that you can pre-poll people and you can actually get live feedback rather than waiting to send out your conference survey, you know, days afterward. That's something that you can watch the data and really find out what your audience is thinking right then and there. Also, just being really specific about asking people what they want and really coming through for them in that. Also, I think with pricing, just keeping it affordable. I know a lot of people have been trying to switch their conferencing from a full 8-hour event even to full days of 8-hour programming. And that's something that I think is really difficult if you charge people, let's say $500 or $1,000 to be able to attend your event, and you're trying to come through with that. But in reality, it's just not the same experience unless you're going to send swag, unless you are going to come through on some of those interactions that it's going to bring that value. You should normally plan on a virtual event costing about 10 to 30% of what the original in-person event would be. So your audience is going to save money on hotel costs, travel costs, but you're also saving a ton of money in terms of AV, lighting, food and beverage, all of those things. And it is really people just engaging in a situation where they are home and you want them to get the most value out of it. But especially if this is your first virtual conference, really erring on the side of trying to provide value without trying to overdo cost. So that is also something you can do with different VIP sessions, different levels, making it really affordable for a lot of first time virtual events that I've seen, or, longer virtual events that I've seen that are just one day. I've seen $40 as kind of the general price of entry for that lower level entry line, and then having more experiences where maybe you get a swag kit if you do this, or you get live replay and a swag kit if you do this, or live replay, swag kit, or VIP experience talking to one of the speakers, or having a Zoom call, or having a pre-party, or having a post-party. Doing any of those things really will help with your engagement as well, and potentially with getting more out of your price point, and having you can also have more people attend your event just because they don't have to travel and do all of that. So those are all of the do's and don'ts that I have for you. If you have any questions, please drop them below. I'm happy to answer any specific questions. If you are planning to go to a virtual conference and maybe have to prepare as an attendee, or if you're looking to host as someone who is hosting a virtual conference, and I'm happy to help either way. And until next time, enjoy celebrating today.